What's up? It's Dave from the Cruiser Cult. Today we're going to be talking about the venerable 2F motor found in Land Cruisers from 1975 or an early 2F all the way to 1987 over here. What the differences are and what makes them all tick. While we're talking about it, we're going to be enjoying just a tribute from Crucible Brewing in Everett, Washington. Let's get into it. All right, here we are. Production started on these 2Fs 1975. Displacement 4.2 liters. Bore is 94 millimeters or stroke of 101.6. Compression ratio on these is out of the factory 7.8 to 1. All of that, what does any of that mean? It's a lot of specs and stuff like that, but what that yields for the end user is new. You get 135 horsepower at 3,600 RPM. What most people are familiar with is the low down torque. So these produce 210 foot-pounds of torque at 1,800 RPM as the Land Cruiser needed to evolve with freeway use and whatnot. A lot of the changes over the years from 75 on came because of that. So 75 to 79, the heads were heavier castings, less prone to cracking. 76 to, I believe, 77 were domed pistons. The thermostat, and this is not a very good example because I actually have a later 2F thermostat, but the thermostat changed from the 4-bolt variety. The earlier version was a 2-bolt variety. There were some changes to the actual intake exhaust manifolds with some of the routing for hoses along the years. Most notably 77, we saw an improvement in the oil pump and oiling and cooling. 79, they lightened up the valve train and they hardened the rocker shafts over the top. 79 was also when we saw drilled and tapped holes for power steering. So I'll show you where those would live. Down over here, you would see above this marking, you would see 3 holes. And then there's also a stud on the front of the block, and that's for the power steering pump to go in there. 1980, as we started using 2Fs in the FJ60, what we saw is lighter connecting rods. So they were forged, but they were also treated during the forging process, where the I-beams along the edges were, while they were super hot, they were pounded along the edges, which caused strengthening along the outside edge of the I-beam, and they became more resistant to cracking, although they were a lighter assembly. 81, we saw flat-topped pistons, better balancing as they started to put them into the 60 series with higher RPMs, and they changed in 81 to the 4-bolt thermostat housing on the front. 85, we changed to a 3F head, and the 3F head gasket had better cooling flow direction. There was also a screw-in oil galley plug, and then the Torx screw hardware on the timing plate. Timing plate is deep down underneath, deep down underneath here, and there's bolt-on, I want to say they're 8 or 10 millimeter bolts. They switched to a Torx timing plate, and those are still available from Toyota if you're rebuilding anything, you need to just kind of upgrade that. That should be something that's recommended. There's differences in the heads where there's open chamber or closed chambered heads. There's a different combination that you would want to research this and try to figure out what the best combination is in order to maintain that compression ratio. If you put a flat topped piston on a open chamber, you're going to lower that compression ratio. Open chamber head casting numbers 61030 and 61031. Closed chamber heads were 61040 and 61070. 2F blocks, block numbers indicate 61011, which was 75s and 76s, and then late FJ60s all the way to 87 ended in number 61014. And so you can see on the side here, try and get in a little bit closer. These are the casting numbers that we're talking about. And then the head passing numbers are up on the top here. A little bit on the venerable 2F, found in 40s, early 75, all the way up into the 60 series, finishing in 87, with little bits of modifications over the years. Really better balancing, lightening up of the valve train, a little bit better cooling over the course of the years in the development. And it's still the same, pretty much the same motor. What's interesting is that they just found subtle improvements in order to let it live at those higher RPMs for longer drives on the highway. All right, guys. So with that information, we now know 85 to 87, best 2F made by Toyota. What you're getting if you go with that combination is provisions for power steering. You're getting lighter valve train and hardened rocker shafts. You're getting lighter connecting rods, and the I-beams are strengthened to resist cracking. You're also going to get better balancing for those higher RPM, longer duration runs in the motor. You're also going to get better improved cooling and oiling. So 85 to 87, that's the one you want. So there you have it. We've got 2F from 75 all the way up to the late 80s. You now know exactly what you need and what to look for on a 2F. Thanks for listening. Dave again with the Cruiser Cult. Have a great night.